Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore. In The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore, the war is on for who controls bringing electric light to America. It's up to a young lawyer to battle against the ambition and genius of men like Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla, and figure out who has the right to claim they invented the light bulb. Okay, on the surface, that plot synopsis, you may be thinking to yourself, well, damn, that sounds super boring and uninteresting. Why do I care about who has claim to saying they invented the light bulb? Oh my god, that sounds so boring. And then I would tell you, you are wrong. This book was absolutely thrilling, somehow, weirdly enough. And it's about the invention of the light bulb and bringing electricity to America and whatnot. And there's just something absolutely so thrilling and compelling and interesting about that. So, yeah, the synopsis, despite it sounding rather boring, don't let that kind of deter you away from experiencing this book, because I freaking loved this book, you guys, and I would definitely really highly recommend it. This is definitely a book that's just so well researched. It's very meticulously researched and crafted, I think. And yeah, even though this book, it's about when electricity was first kind of getting going in America and whatnot, even though it's just about electricity, there's just something that's so well done about it that gets you hooked and invested into it. And yeah, I mean, this book really makes you think about how we take electricity for granted in our modern society. We don't think twice about electricity. It's just there. We have it. We turn things on, they turn on, unless you're having a power outage. But yeah, I think we take electricity nowadays just super totally for granted. And this book kind of really puts you in that place when, you didn't have light bulbs and electricity and whatnot. You had to work off of candles and gas lighting and stuff like that. This book really kind of puts you into that space and really gives you this great historical context of what it kind of would have been like during that time period. And yeah, like anything that is brand new, because a lot of times I think we as a people, we have a hard time adapting to new things. Something new comes around and we're like, oh yeah, that's not going to last. I mean, seriously, back when Netflix first got started, I used to think, oh yeah, Netflix, it ain't going to go nowhere. It's going to die out in a couple years. But no, Netflix is like the biggest huge thing in our world. So it's like, it's the same with electricity way back when it was first getting adapted. You had kind of that group of people saying, yeah, electricity's not going to last, it's going to die out. But no, it doesn't. So yeah, that book is really kind of getting into that, and I loved that perspective. And it's thanks to men like Edison and Tesla and Westinghouse, all of those dudes. It's thanks to those guys that we can enjoy the commodities that we have in our modern day society. How our medical field is, because Tesla kind of started up the first X-ray. There's like things within our medical field, our entertainment, just everything, every aspect of our lives is controlled by electricity. And it's thanks to all these guys with their ambition and their genius. Even though that was seen as peculiar back in the day, it's thanks to that we can enjoy everything that we enjoy nowadays. And what this book is tackling, it's definitely looking at the greed and ambition of these men. And the thing is, with that greed and ambition comes this degree of like power, being power hungry, and the sacrifices that have to be made in order to have this greed and ambition. And that's what truly makes this book so utterly captivating and interesting. It's the genius of these men, it's the ambition of these men, the things that they're willing to do in order to kind of achieve their end goals and whatnot, what they're willing to sacrifice versus what they're not willing to sacrifice. Who they're willing to hurt, who they're willing to backstab. It makes for some pretty intriguing stuff. Our main character is a young lawyer named Paul Cravath, and how he kind of gets wrapped up into this whole situation. He becomes the lawyer for a man named George Westinghouse, and there is a battle going on between George Westinghouse and Thomas Edison. They are both saying, hey, I'm the one who invented the light bulb. So they're essentially kind of suing each other, you know? So Paul is George Westinghouse's lawyer. And so he kind of gets into this whole thing, this whole situation, which becomes known as the current war. I love that, the current war. It's really dramatic, but the situation is dramatic. So yeah, Paul is George Westinghouse's lawyer, and it's up to him. He needs to be on Westinghouse's side, essentially, kind of trying to prove that, hey, my client is the one who created the light bulb, not Thomas Edison. So Paul has to basically undermine and outmaneuver Thomas Edison and Thomas Edison's people this entire novel. And Westinghouse and Edison are some truly fantastic characters in this book because they're both greedy, they're both ambitious, they're both, power hungry and striving to make it to the top and whatnot. They both have millions to their name. They don't have to struggle for anything. Their names are well known at this point in history. They can control whoever they want. They can control whatever they want. They have the power just at the tips of their fingers. And in the meantime, Paul is right in the middle of this whole thing. And this is a dangerous place to be. He is truly kind of tackling some dangerous territory between these two men. It gets pretty heated and crazy. There's even like murder plans at some point. And the thing is, if Paul wants to succeed, if he wants his client to win this war, this battle, Paul is going to have to put himself into places that he might normally have never ventured into. Like I said, these two powerhouses during this time period, they have all the power, all the influence, the ambition and the greed, and Paul kind of has to get into that mindset at times. He has to think like a greedy billionaire if he wants to succeed. He needs to kind of think, how can I outwit Edison? What is the best angle, the best twist? Who do I need to go to get the information I need to get to target and go against Edison and whatnot? Paul definitely, his morals at time kind of get corrupted. And so that in turn makes him a very interesting character. I really loved his character because I think he's just a sweet, naive guy at times. When you're first introduced to him, he's rather sweet and naive, just kind of your everyday average guy. And this whole situation over the course of the novel, it kind of starts warping and twisting him into a different sort of person. And the thing is that good or bad at the end of the day? What does power and greed and ambition do to him? What is the cost? What is the sacrifice? And once again, what people like Westinghouse and Edison, they have all this money. And I think at the crux of this novel, the novel is definitely kind of exploring this whole thing of, what is happiness? What makes you happy? Does money really, truly make you happy at the end of the day? And yeah, the quick, easy answer, I think for a lot of people who don't have money like that, the quick, easy answer is like, well, hell yes, money would make me happy. But once again, what is the cost to having all that money, And so Paul kind of gets into that situation that he thinks, oh yeah, money, I would love that. But then he kind of starts seeing what money does to a person, and it's not a good thing, because it actually requires a lot of personal sacrifice, and at the end of the day could turn you into a very lonely, pathetic figure. And something else that is incredibly important to men like Westinghouse and Edison, it's all about legacy, and it's all about their name. Because for men like that, what they want more than anything is to be remembered through the decades. because their worst fear is being forgotten by history. So that is a big part of this novel that gets explored, especially kind of near the end. And I loved that angle as well. And I definitely got to give all of the applause for Graham Moore's wonderful historical research with this book. It was just absolutely brilliant and well done. I could just tell that Graham Moore had an incredibly fun time researching and writing and putting this novel together. And this is kind of one of those historical fiction books that I felt like I was actually learning a lot. And at the end of this book is like an author's note from Graham Moore where he goes into a lot of detail about what is fact and what's fiction, what he took specific liberties with, because he makes it very clear that there were things that he was kind of rearranging and moving around so that way in the context of this narrative there was an easier, shorter flow so you can get through events with ease rather than like big huge gaps like how would naturally happen in history, you know. I definitely recommend reading his author notes because that's really interesting as well and kind of helps explain kind of how things are kind of arranged in his book, and once again what's fact, what's fiction. I always love that. And once again, you know, there's something on the surface of this book that sounds so boring and uninteresting. But yeah, because of Graham Moore's meticulous research and how he crafts this novel, he really makes a truly compelling, entertaining narrative where your characters are in peril and you feel the stakes of this situation, you know, trying to bring electricity to all of America. Because at this kind of point, it's kind of really just like the big, huge cities that have it. But yeah, their big ambition is it needs to be everywhere. So you really feel the stakes that are very heightened in this book, you know, that there needs to be electricity in America. But the thing is, which one of these men is going to bring it to America, you know? So I loved kind of that heightened intensity to the narrative. Now, there is a lot of like scientific jargon, lawyer jargon that gets in this book, and it can be a little overwhelming and confusing on occasion when these men would all be talking, and it's like, I'm not sure what the hell they're talking about, but it sounds interesting. Even though some of that may be a little confusing, the thing is, what this book is really all about, it is definitely all about these characters, and that's what's truly fascinating at the end of the day. Even if you don't understand all of the lawyer talk going on, all of the political talk, all of the business talk, all of the electricity talk, you know, even though some of that might get a little over your head, it's like it doesn't kind of matter sometimes. As long as you understand what's motivating and moving these characters, that's what's important. So overall, I just absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this book. Yeah, guys, I loved the historical context. I loved the research. You can just clearly see that Graham Moore did the research. You know, there's just so much I enjoyed about this book. It's probably going to be fairly high on my list of favorite books at the end of the year. I would gather. Yeah, I definitely recommend this book. If you love historical fiction in general, especially just really well-researched historical fiction, I think you'll have a great appreciation for this book. And yeah, I mean, this is like a subject that I don't typically read about. You know, there's not many books out there that I know of that deal with the current war. So that made this book really unique and refreshing, kind of focusing on a completely different aspect of history that we don't really see often in historical fiction like this. So yeah, that's another big, huge reason why I recommend it. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on The Last Days of Night. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.